And now our next guest is one whose current implementation. He helped develop the first method for sequencing a genome. GeorgeChurch is known to have had multiple meetings and calls with Epstein and received research funding from him.
In keeping the Arctic cold.
So you think there would be an impact on climate change?
We're working with the Zimov family, who's established two parks, Pleistocene parks. One is in very northern Siberia and one's near Moscow. The more ancient grassland, which is far better at sequestering carbon, it's better at reflecting sunlight than these black trees are. And they allow the herbivores to stomp down the snow, so you get a conduction of the -40 winds rather than this fluffy snow blanket, which protects the summer soil temperature from the low temperatures above. So all those things can be mitigated if you shift back from trees to grass.
Up in this Jeffrey Epstein affair where he was donating money to Harvard and other places, and you recently apologized for it. What did you learn from that, and do you have any comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a...
What did you think when the Chinese doctor, though, did this type of editing that was inherited?
I mean, it was inevitable. I wasn't necessarily happy with the outcome, but I was not surprised by it either. We had not set up an adequate system for whistleblowing. They can't point the finger at just the person who did it. There were dozens of people who knew about it, both in the United States and in China. None of them spoke. We just don't have a culture of whistleblowing, and we should, because this is not the most serious things that we should be blowing whistles on. I mean, things having to do with pathogens and so forth. You know, it's unlikely that people will die because of this particular experiment. Okay, there are 2 children born so far, maybe a third. I think it's unlikely they're going to die, but we'll see. And I think we should be paying attention to them. There should be some sympathy for their plight. They've at least been spared of the publicity, but you know, there were deaths at the beginning of gene therapy. Gene therapy forged ahead. In this case, I don't even think we're talking about life and death. We're talking about something much more abstract.
You've formed more than 20 companies, I think, coming out of this basic science that comes out of your lab or that you've worked with. Do you think that's a really good thing for science to be driven by trying to create biotech companies and fund it? Or do you think that that can be a problem as well, which is it drives science to do things that you wouldn't do unless you could make a lot of money out of it?
Well, so I mean, I think you can be driven in that, in odd ways without ever making a company. I mean, you could, and there is a problem that if you just publish something without escorting it into the public where it can be used, it dies. It doesn't blossom. So I think you need some commitment to getting out there. And, some of these things are quite expensive. The cost of developing a drug is $1 billion. If you're going to try to do that, if you expect somebody to read your paper and somehow it's just going to happen is unreasonable. But for the most part, most of my colleagues that I know that do this, they're just totally motivated by the science, the cool factors, the helping society, and what they do with the money is they just plow it right back into research for either basic research or more applied research. I don't think it warps our mission that much.